This is Rummy's Corner. In November 1986, 20-year-old Iron Mike Tyson stopped Trevor Berbick in the second round. With that victory, Tyson won the WBC heavyweight belt, which marked him as the youngest boxer in history to win a major heavyweight title. It was a powerhouse performance that made a huge impact in the division. Mike Tyson had arrived. 4 months earlier, Evander Holyfield won his first championship in an epic 15-round battle against Dwight Muhammad Qawi. After 15 hard-fought rounds, Holyfield was ultimately awarded a split decision victory to win the WBA cruiserweight title. The next few years, Iron Mike took the boxing world by storm, adding both the WBA and IBF while defending the crown against many top challengers of his day. Tyson also earned a valid claim to the heavyweight lineage in June 1988 when he brutally stopped Michael Spinks in the opening round. Mike Tyson was now the one and only heavyweight world champion, and his undisputed claim was now complete and beyond reproach. Iron Mike was the baddest man on the planet. Meanwhile, as Tyson was collecting all the belts one by one at heavyweight, Holyfield was doing the very same at cruiserweight. Indeed, 2 months earlier, Holyfield had successfully become the first undisputed world cruiserweight champion in history when he won the only belt missing from his collection after he stopped WBC champion Carlos De Leon. Mike Tyson was the undefeated, undisputed world heavyweight champion, and Evander Holyfield was the undefeated, undisputed world cruiserweight champion. After that, Holyfield made the jump to heavyweight, with the goal of becoming undisputed once again, this time chasing heavyweight glory. As Holyfield began rising through the rankings at heavyweight, Tyson continued defending his undisputed crown. It appeared that the two would inevitably square off in a high-profile championship contest. Indeed, the two agreed to terms to fight at some point later in 1990. But prior to that, Tyson had what was expected to be an easy tune-up fight against Buster Douglas. But it wasn't an easy tune-up at all. Instead, the stars were perfectly aligned for a perfect storm scenario, where Buster Douglas, the underachieving contender, had morphed into the mighty Tokyo Douglas, which served as kryptonite against Iron Mike. Holyfield looked horrified by what he was witnessing, as Douglas was putting forth an underdog performance of a lifetime. Tokyo Douglas scored an upset for the ages when he stopped Iron Mike in dramatic fashion in round 10. The Tyson-Holyfield fight was derailed. Instead, Holyfield would beat Douglas later that year, and Mike would begin to rebuild. In March 1991, Tyson had a showdown against Razor Ruddock. At that time, Tyson was the universally ranked #1 contender, and Ruddock was the universally ranked #2 contender. Tyson stopped Ruddock, but the stoppage was considered controversial. A month later in April, Holyfield made his first defense of the undisputed heavyweight crown when he won a decision against former world champion Big George Foreman. A couple of months later, Tyson beat Ruddock in their rematch, this time winning a hard-fought 12-round decision in a fight where both boxers were trading bombs. Tyson and Holyfield were scheduled to fight in November 1991, but it didn't happen. Mike suffered a rib injury that pushed the fight back, but before a new date could be finalized, Tyson was sent to prison. It seemed that Tyson and Holyfield were simply not destined to fight. Over the next couple of years, Holyfield defended his crown a couple of more times, before losing his undisputed championship against Riddick Big Daddy Bo. This began one of the greatest and most famous rivalries in heavyweight history. And the entire time all of this was happening, there were still many who believed that Tyson was the uncrowned king of the division, and that if and when he returned, he would reclaim what was rightfully his. This viewpoint was further amplified when 45-year-old Big George had done the impossible. Mike Tyson ultimately would return in August 1995, and after a couple of tune-ups, he won the WBC title against Frank Bruno, and he also won the WBA title against Bruce Seldon. This ultimately led to the improbable, long-overdue showdown between Tyson and Holyfield, duly billed as Finally. By this point in time, Tyson was viewed as a heavy favorite, where he made quick work of Bruno and Seldon, whereas Holyfield had lost his rubber match against Bo a year earlier. Not only did Bo win the rubber match, but he was the first man to stop Holyfield, and it was an absolutely devastating knockout. The memory of Holyfield losing against Michael Moore was also fresh, and the perception was that Holyfield was a shot fighter, and that Iron Mike would make quick work of him. By the time they finally met, Tyson had vacated the WBC belt, but his WBA belt was still on the line. The date was November 9th, 1996, and the atmosphere at the MGM Grand was nothing short of electric. Right out of the gate, Tyson landed a booming right that staggered Holyfield. After that, Holyfield was trying to smother Tyson whenever he got in close, but Tyson was still doing some nice work. But as the round progressed, Holyfield was settling in and doing some nice work of his own, where his blend of smothering and infighting were having the desired effect. Tyson landed a couple of nice rights late in the round, and he landed another nice right at the end of the round, with the two trading after the bell. Holyfield took the initiative at the start of the second, and early in the round he landed a beautiful counter. Holyfield soon began sneaking in shots downstairs. They began trading with Tyson's back against the ropes, and Holyfield clearly got the best of the exchange. Holyfield was otherwise doing a terrific job neutralizing Tyson's offense, and he was beginning to find a nice groove of his own. Holyfield again took the initiative at the start of the third, and in this round Holyfield was punching first far more often, and he was proving far stronger in the clinch than Tyson. There was some good infighting on display from both guys, and Tyson was warned for hitting on the break. The good inside scrapping continued, but whenever they were grappling and not punching, Holyfield was the boss. A quick exchange broke out when Holyfield again attacked first to start the fourth. Holyfield was now often the one getting off first, and Mike was not countering effectively. Whenever Mike was landing in the midst of an exchange, Holyfield was still getting his and would resume smothering and outmuscling Mike to break and reset. Later in the round, Mike was being a bit more effective, but Holyfield was doing a good job absorbing the incoming fire. Holyfield was more inventive in the moment, and he did the better work late. Holyfield landed some good stuff early in round 5, but Tyson started sneaking in some stiff shots of his own, and all of a sudden Tyson appeared rejuvenated. Mike was doing his best work of the fight, but Holyfield was still able to largely slow his roll in tight. Referee Mitch Halpern halted the action so Tyson could have his tape fixed. Tyson still landed some nice stuff after that, but his momentum cooled off after the prior break in the action, and Holyfield remained composed and determined. Tyson began round 6 more aggressively than he had any round since the opener, but Holyfield quickly pivoted and began bullying Tyson in tight. Tyson was attacking well with his speedy power. Halpern halted the action and ruled an accidental headbutt, which resulted in a cut on Tyson. When action resumed, Tyson opened up and the two traded. Tyson landed some strong isolated shots, but he was beginning to bleed around his left eye. Holyfield then landed a blow that went low, and the two again clashed heads. Holyfield dropped Tyson with a sharp left downstairs. Tyson beat the count, and Holyfield never capitalized, and the two traded ferociously to close out the eventful round. They both threw to begin the 7th, and Holyfield again outmuscled Tyson. Halpern warned Holyfield for not breaking as instructed. There wasn't a whole lot of action for a long stretch, and while each guy was having scattered success, Holyfield appeared to be the one exuding confidence, and Tyson seemed in a bit of a panic over the state of his eye. Late in the round, another clash of heads left Tyson in visible agony. Halpern had fight doctor Flip Hamansky examine Tyson's eye, and the fight resumed, and the round ended with a clinch. Tyson charged out ineffectively to begin round 8, and by this point Tyson's energy level seemed heavily sapped. Simply put, Tyson was beginning to look mentally and physically deflated. This was another round that was largely lacking in action, although a few heated exchanges broke out. But no matter what Tyson tried, Holyfield always seemed to have the answer. It was more of the same in round 9. Not a whole lot of action and an awful lot of grappling for position in tight. Whenever the two did trade, Holyfield got the best of it, and he continued to outmaneuver Tyson as he continued commanding the tempo. The momentum was clearly on the side of Holyfield, and try as he might, Tyson couldn't get anything going to turn the tide. Tyson was still trying to attack to start the 10th, but he was mostly being ineffective, and he was quickly being neutralized. But Mike was giving it his best, and he was trying his best to adapt to Holyfield's spoiling tactics. It simply wasn't having the desired impact, and Holyfield cleverly absorbed anything that got through and usually returned fire. Holyfield landed a big right late in the round that buzzed Tyson. He soon nailed him with another right that sent Tyson staggering across the ring. Holyfield unloaded on him, and Mike appeared to be in bad shape when the round ended. Early in round 11, Holyfield soon had Tyson hurt again, and he unleashed a spirited onslaught that prompted Halpern to jump in and mercifully wave it off. The fight was over. Evander Holyfield had become the new WBA heavyweight champion, which made him a 3-time heavyweight champion. It was a big-time upset victory for Evander, and his immaculate game plan and execution were nothing short of sublime. It was a masterful performance from the real deal. The rematch was originally supposed to happen on May 3rd the following year, but Tyson suffered a cut in sparring that pushed it back. On June 28, 1997, Holyfield and Tyson had a rematch at the very same venue where they first met, the MGM Grand, and the atmosphere was once again nothing short of electric, simply palpable. Right out of the gate, Tyson initiated an exchange. Holyfield was jabbing well in the early going. Before long, a familiar pattern took shape where Holyfield was out-muscling Tyson whenever the two were in close quarters. Tyson was using more head movement this time around, and Holyfield was being more aggressive this time, and Evander caught Mike with a sweet right. Holyfield opened up with a really nice sequence, and Tyson began firing back. In round 2, Tyson continued using good head movement as he was looking to create a favorable angle. Tyson suffered a cut early in the round, and referee Mills Lane paused the action. Before long, Holyfield was bullying Mike around the ring. Things were looking very similar to their first fight, but Holyfield appeared far more confident this time, and Holyfield was doing more work from mid-range, and it was some damn good work. Things began getting rough in the clinch, and Tyson was already beginning to look very frustrated, and he didn't care to dance to that tune. Tyson initially forgot his mouthpiece to start the third. When the round began, he charged out firing away, and Holyfield defiantly shoved him back. There was a lot of aggressive clinching going on where the two battled for superiority inside. There were also some fireworks erupting with both guys throwing heavy leather. With under a minute left in the round, Tyson went wild and bit Holyfield's ear. Mills Lane looked baffled as Holyfield started hopping around in pain. Mills called timeout, and Tyson then proceeded to shove Holyfield. Holyfield had a bloody ear, and Lane was trying to figure out what the hell was going on. Lane wanted to disqualify Tyson for the infraction, but Flip Hamansky said Holyfield could fight on. So instead, Lane deducted not 1, but 2 points from Tyson. When action resumed, an enraged Tyson bit him once again. But Mills Lane didn't see it, and the round came to an end, and after the round ended, Lane did disqualify Tyson, and then all hell broke loose. Mike Tyson was going wild and swinging at anyone and everyone in his path. It was absolutely bonkers. numerous security guards formed a blockade to pin Tyson in a corner. It was a bizarre ordeal to say the least, but at the end of the day, Holyfield once again defeated Tyson. The rivalry between Holyfield and Tyson was an interesting chapter in heavyweight history. The fight was years in the making, first talked about way back when they were both undefeated, but for various reasons it just never came together when the two were at their best. It had a wild backstory, a wild first encounter in the realm of the unexpected with the big-time upset, and their rematch was even wilder in the realm of the unexpected, doubling down on that concept where Tyson was disqualified for twice biting Evander's ear. You seriously couldn't make this stuff up. Would the fight have gone any differently had they fought in the early 90s as opposed to 96 and 97? It's impossible to say. Some people believe Tyson being closer to his peak would have beaten Holyfield. Others maintain that Evander would have always beaten Mike and that he simply had his number. All I can say for certain is that when they did fight, Holyfield put forth two dominant winning efforts that greatly enhanced his legacy, and he did so at a time when many observers believed he was a shot fighter. It may have happened years later than it should have, but as they say, better late than never. Thank you very much for watching, everyone, and have a wonderful night. This is Rummy's Corner.